Hi, everybody, again. It is Megan Me Smile, and we are back to cover the most recent episode of Southern Charm. We've got episode 5, Loose Lips, Deep Riffs, and we are going to do a quick recap of what went down in this episode. I know we're on a bit of a holiday break right now, but this is going to be a nice little way to keep us up to date on what these hooligans are doing down south. So we open back up this episode, getting a quick little glimpse at what each of our cast members are doing individually. We have Molly gardening and like weeding her house. We have Salley in her scrubs, working from her little breakfast nook with her dogs, trying to eat her food while she's like scanning x-rays. And we have Whitner heading into the law office, probably promptly at 8:30 in the morning, as per his daily routine and schedule. However, we cut to somebody's home that we did not see in the last episode, and that is Miss Patricia's home. We have Randy the butler prepping her 5 o'clock martini and moving the scented candles away so that Patricia can truly enjoy her beverage. And honestly, I get it, because if you have some fragrant candles, you don't want that scent kind of, getting in the way. But anywho, Madison arrives to meet Miss Patricia and catch her up over some sweet tea and Miss Patricia's martini. When she walks in, Madison is looking beautiful, radiant, honestly ready to burst, though, as a mother-to-be and, second mother-to-be. And when she tells Miss Patricia that she still has a couple months left, like Miss Patricia looks very shocked and she's like, I'm a one and done, never again, obviously. But Miss Patricia asks Madison to tell her what's going on, catch me up on what everybody's been up to lately. So she jumps right in with the love triangle first. We've got Charlie, Salley, and Craig in this love triangle with these various but frequent hot tub nights. And when Miss Patricia asks, Madison says she doesn't know for sure if any of them have slept together, but she is, keeping her finger on the pulse and she is trying to find it out. Is that the right saying? Finger on the pulse? Finger on the trigger? She's going to find out. From there, Madison updates Miss Patricia that Austen, made a comment at the party that took it too far for Craig. So Craig doubled down and went even harder towards Austen. And before they knew it, they were just losing it on each other. Madison doesn't really think that Austen's okay. Doesn't really think Craig's okay either, but it seems like they're trying to fill these voids, or that they need to rather fill these voids, get a hobby, really focus on the things going well in your life before old habits kind of fill in where you feel a little incomplete right now. After they have their, cute little dainty sit down, we have our next scene, which is Craig setting up for his Memorial Day party in his backyard. His adorable, fun assistant, Jack, we love Jack, comes out to help him out. And, truly that man is keeping Craig's life together. So kudos to Jack. Craig says he loves parties. He was the social chair of his fraternity, and he's used to just like throwing them and having fun. But Paige is the one that really elevated him from having these like frat boy college parties to like a more sophisticated, elevated adult party. Paige isn't here though, so he's going to put it together with the help of Jack. He shares that he has some honey from his bees that he's going to put into signature cocktails, which is pretty cool. He gets a frozen pina colada drink machine because Charlie wanted pina coladas and he wants to obviously impress her. Spoiler, the drink machine never actually gets frozen, but whatever. But he does say that he's going to pick up other things that he knows like Austen will like. He does feel bad. He knows he yelled too much and wants to make it up to him at the party. And Jack, his assistant, says he doesn't imagine that Austen wouldn't be coming, which again, can't tell if this is foreshadowing, like they already know he's not coming. But again, spoiler alert, he's not coming. So we cut from Craig getting ready to Vanita's house, and we see that she's actually FaceTiming with Austen. He's at Audrey's place. Vanita's just calling to check in, see how he's feeling since, the blow up. And I will say it's nice that she's calling to check in. I actually sincerely think she wants to check in with him, and it's not to like get under Craig's skin more. Because I think that Vanita is somebody that really does root for other people in the cast and their success. I don't think I've ever seen examples of it otherwise, even if it's like in their personal life and like their relationships and whatnot. Because I mean, even when Craig and Paige broke up, like Vanita reached out to Paige and was like, you were in our lives in some capacity and checked on her. So I don't know, but Vanita called to check in, see how he's feeling. And Austen says, I haven't really processed it all. I just needed to take a few days, take a beat. And he doesn't understand why his two best friends always like want to bring him down when something good is going on in his life. He kind of feels like he's a target and that he's somebody who is always easy to forgive others. And that's why they feel like they can do it time and time to him again, but that he doesn't really want to do that anymore and that he's reevaluating who he is spending his time with. So this is pretty telling, and I'm very curious to see kind of where they are now after watching all of these like seasons back, or not seasons, episodes back in real time, because they don't know everything that's in every episode before it airs, as far as I know, unless they get them like for the reunion, but usually they've all aired by then. So at that point, Vanita agrees that Shep is actively trying to reflect and make things right, but that Craig seems to really be justifying or saying, I'm sorry, but, and agrees that while maybe Shep is the one that's more remorseful, Craig might still be in a place where he's taking pleasure in making Austen feel less than in their friendship, which isn't really a friendship at all. But by the end of this call, it is pretty interesting and telling that Austen mentions Sally's name, who's also one of Vanita's friends, but they're a little rocky right now, and how he feels like the dynamic between Salley and Craig is enabling this bad behavior, probably on both ends. Vanita agrees, and I think that we're going to see at the Memorial Day party how this dynamic falls out with Vanita, because, again, spoiler, Austen's not going. But before we get to the party, we cut to a scene with Molly driving in the car, chatting with her dad. It's a cute little conversation where it takes him a minute to remember that her music partner's name is Keith Bradshaw, that she recorded a song with, and she has such a beautiful voice. I feel like Molly is just very good at so many things, which she even admits, and so let's add having her be confident to the list too. She obviously was on America's Next Top Model. She's a singer. She plays the euphonium. She has all these cool reptiles and stuff. She's on a reality TV show, and I just love that her parents really gas her up and tell her, like, you can be the next Taylor Swift. You can be the best you want to be. Her dad shares how he was a lawyer and he became one. And then 3 weeks later had to go and be in the courtroom. And he was like, but that didn't come naturally to me the way that the things you do are coming naturally to you. So just, it's okay to be afraid and to be fearful because it's something you care about, and go do it. I'll get to it later when we talk about the Smile Awards, because again, this episode and this scene in particular, there were a few parts that just, they were really good, feel good moments. I mean, there were some messy moments too, don't get me wrong, but this one definitely is up there for me. Our next scene is Salley at her house, baking a cake with Charlie, who comes over. It's her grandmother's coffee cake recipe. And while this scene, in my opinion, felt a bit displaced, I do understand that we needed a scene with just Salley and Charlie chatting about the Craig of it all and seeing what that dynamic's going to look like, because that's what they talk about the majority of the time. We also get Sally's backstory about how she was very close with her grandmother who passed 2 years ago. And so I think this scene was necessary. It just felt like it was out of place in this particular episode. But I guess, I don't know, I guess it had to happen now. So even though their friendship is like new-ish, Charlie shares that they've experienced a lot already, but not really how to navigate a situation where the two of you may like the same guy. She also doesn't really know how to bring up moments that might frustrate her or cause a bit of hesitation when it comes to her friendship with Salley. For instance, when Salley shares that she mentioned to Craig that she wanted to get chickens in her backyard and that they both want this like farm life. And so he's going to help her pick out chickens. But Charlie wants so badly to be like, girl, you can go get them at the store across the street. And it just feels like, would she be getting the chickens if Craig didn't say, like, I'll go get them with you? I'm curious. I actually wonder if she has them now. I'll have to go look. But this conversation is just, You can tell Charlie wants to say more when she's unpacking the party and how she needs to respond to Salley saying, well, it felt like Vanita had Molly's back and X, Y, and Z. But at the end of it all, it feels a little awkward and that she's not sure how to navigate what she thinks that she has with Craig. If Salley also thinks that she has something with Craig that she also is saying is notably stronger. The Memorial Day party has arrived at Craig's house, though, and we see him getting everything set up in the backyard, fighting with the frozen drink maker. Again, it never gets frozen. Don't worry. But it also kind of like is giving like summer house, like setting up a party every weekend. It made me just even more excited for summer house to come back soon. Shep arrives and brings in a package that was on Craig's doorstep. It was his patriotic bathing suit. And after, he brings it to him, it's a perfect time for them to have a one-on-one conversation where Shep says that he did finally speak to Austen, but did say that he was not going to be coming to the party. This is where Craig blows up. He gets upset and says every time something happens to Austen in our friendship or in his personal life, he takes it out on me in our friendship. And it's, stupid that he's not coming. And he just can't believe it, can't fathom that Austen would want a break. But, Shep says, I think Austen wants a big apology for the past year and a half where you grilled him about getting his life together while you were in a relationship and now the roles are reversed and he's not in a position where he's just ready to flip the script like that. So I do see that. I honestly think the best thing is for Austen to not be at this party because I don't think it would end well. And then you would have Craig saying, well, this was my party and you ruined it and I put so much work into it. So honestly, I think he made the right choice. And I think that Craig was just going to be annoyed either way and continue to flip out. But read the room, Craig. You were mad last time that everybody said they were scared of you. So yelling and freaking out more about something is not going to change their minds on that. Just saying. But Shep suggests that entering the friendship with Austen with a bit more grace and listening could be beneficial long term. But at that point, Craig's like, no, he needs to grow up. And at this point, Shep doesn't really think that Craig can or is willing to feel remorse in this relationship with Austen. It's a shame. It's a shame because like the two of them could really like do a lot of great things, but it's like they're in each other's way as friends, which is tough. But the Memorial Day party's beginning. Molly arrives. Corey arrives in his weird lacy shirt that looks like a doily. Vanita comes and brings beach towels as a gift, which is actually a very thoughtful gift. And again, I think that she's also, and she even admits it, she's going to show up on, the show that she's on with the cast, whether she likes the host of the party or not. But also, if she goes there and plays nice, what does Craig have to say to her? So I think that that was smart of her to, arrive that way. Whitner comes in with his work materials and he cracks me up saying, I have to go in and take a call. Production asks him, like, are you on a work call at a party? And he goes, yeah, because I'd never have a party on a Wednesday. I'm an adult. It cracks me up like that. Okay. Whitner gets some points there. He did get some points at first when he said to Corey, like, what little girl did you steal your shirt from? But Corey does take the cake when he responds back so quickly and be like, your mom's house. Like, okay, Corey, I always joke that like Corey is to like winter and summer house and the camera's there the way that Charisse is on the cameras on Potomac. Like, has Corey ever been casted on any of these shows or is he just always around? I don't know. But Salley and Charlie arrive at the same time, which already feels like they're like in tandem, but also in competition with each other. Almost like how like the two sisters in Cinderella are like vying for the prince and they're like fighting each other. Like that's almost the vibe. I think Salley cares more than Charlie, but that's kind of the vibe we can get here. Madison arrives as well and said she can kind of tell that the place has lost a woman's touch without Paige being there. Oof. But what has not lost its touch is her style. She had this beautiful red dress on. I think she had like a sparkly bronzer because we caught Craig looking at her boobs. But she looked amazing. And once we get the party going and flowing, all the little side conversations start going off. And we see one between Molly, Vanita, and Rodrigo hanging out in the corner. Molly actually brings up in this conversation that Salley is talking crap about her lady bits. We cut to a flashback where we hear that there's a bit of a nip tuck situation that Molly had. And that Vanita's the one that brought it up to Salley. They were questioning who funded it. And it was like sheer gossip that, Molly confided in Vanita and Vanita straight up went and gossiped to Salley about it. Vanita! Rodrigo calls out that Vanita is the one that's spreading these falsehoods, and now he's saying, girl, you're flapping your gums. That's not okay. And the fact that Vanita said there was like a trusted source that told her that this surgery was paid for by a man. Give me a break. I'm tired of us saying, like, a trusted source told me or a blogger shared with me. Like, let's be for real. Not to mention, not only is it wrong that Vanita gossiped about it, but Salley, like, you literally work in the medical field. And I would have thought that maybe with like that code of ethics, you'd initially be like, oh, we're not going to talk about surgery on camera or things like that. Or does the code of ethics in reality TV supersede your medical degree? I don't know. There was a bit of responsibility, I think, on Salley's part that lacked because she's the one that continued spreading the gossip. And I think that's crappy. I'm not excusing the fact that Vanita did it because she's not excusing it either. She actually went online and said that, after it happened and when the show aired, that I think she sent Molly flowers and another heartfelt apology, and that Molly said she's forgiven Vanita and that Vanita's instant and later public and private apologies showed that she really did feel terrible about it. And so I agree. I think that Vanita did feel terrible. I don't know if Salley did, but I just know that we saw Vanita feel that sense of remorse. So, through all of this, the little pockets of friends and conversations all kind of migrate and get into some new rooms. We cut to Molly, Vanita, and Rodrigo going into the kitchen for some food. Madison joins them. She's hungry. She's seeing all of the little tchotchkes or little additions to the house that clearly must have been done by Paige, but like that's awkward. Man, I wonder if Paige knows that like her name has been mentioned almost every episode of this season. Outside, we see that Salley and Charlie are chatting, but Salley said she needs to go find Vanita. I don't know, kind of seems like production was like, hey, go find Vanita and find a way to like not make it seem like you're just upping and leaving one conversation and going in to talk to her. But she does. And when Salley goes in, she hugs Vanita. It's a little awkward and quiet. And Vanita says to her, be nice. And Salley quickly turns around and says, like, to who? What are you talking about? It's a little awkward. Everyone can kind of see that Salley is looking alarmed and wanting to know more now. And eventually that's when Sally's like, okay, well, what are you guys talking about? Like, what's going on? Be nice. And that's where Molly chimes in and was like, well, if Vanita's not going to say it, I'm going to say I heard you were talking crap on my body and I don't appreciate that. Says, to who? Rod jumps right in and says, well, to me, to other people, and it was crappy. Molly agreed it was crappy. Vanita said it was wrong and that she's very sorry. Salley just doesn't really care. And she's like, well, we were going back and forth, X, Y, and Z. And again, maybe Salley and Craig are perfect for each other, or maybe they're a recipe for sheer toxicity and disaster because the two of them are very similar in that they'll say, well, you did this, or I'm sorry, but, or it's always tit for tat. And this is nothing to tit or tat. When you're talking about somebody's surgery and then you're also questioning if a rich man paid for it, when Molly said 2019 came right out of my bank account, what do you have to say now? Who's your trusted source? Salley, you're lucky. You're lucky that all Molly said to you in this scene, well, I don't want to repeat her exact words, but she basically called her everything but a child of God and let her know. And Salley was just like, wow, okay. So she probably realized in that moment, like, dang, people are not feeling me. And she just kind of like stormed out. I think she was more shocked because it seems like she thinks very, I don't want to say highly of herself, but I can't think of really any better word right now, but similar to how she's always saying like, oh, like, why isn't Craig kissing me? I'm hot. I always don't have a problem being a hot girl in a hot tub with a guy. It's kind of like now she has friendships where she has done something inappropriate or wrong and she just can't understand that she's not the queen bee going after somebody in their friend group, but rather they're coming after her. I don't know. I honestly wonder if Salley felt like this was how her season was going to go before it was like edited and finalized and sent out to air. But I don't know. We cut back and eventually, Sally and Molly are one-on-one because Madison says, "Look, I've never thought about getting a labiaplasty, but after this, I might need to do some myself." But she heads out and they say, "Look, we're going to try to like call a truce even though we called a truce before and then this happened." But it I don't know. I don't know if I trust that Sally will have other things to talk about if it's not somebody else. So, yeah. Yeah. But as they're talking, Molly says, "Look, I'm not the only one that feels this way. Vanita is starting to question your authenticity and being genuine as a friend." And I've got to say, in that conversation where it was supposed to just be Molly and Sally kind of finalizing and squashing whatever leftover ground beef they had on the floor, Molly got her last lick back at Sally and Vanita. At Vanita for even spreading this rumor that she had only been told by Molly in the first place, and at Sally because she wants her to know, hey, you got problems with all your friends. Molly says to her, "Well, look, I'm not the only one feeling this way. Vanita has reservations." And as soon as she says that, Sally goes out there and is like, "Vanita, what is this? Why aren't you telling me this? Why do I have to hear it from Molly?" I don't know. I think Molly, that move right there puts you on the dean's list in the School of Reality TV. That was quick and smart and good on you. Good on you. I really do think that Sally just wants to have fun and wants to be a feel-good cast member who knows she's beautiful and likes other beautiful, attractive people. But I think she's compromising friendships that are way more valuable on reality TV than it is to have like a little fling on a season. And I think she's probably, if I, well, I would hope that if she's watching the season back now that she would be reflecting and seeing that. But thankfully, this tension ends with Shep coming out dressed as I think a sexy Ben Franklin, it appears, ready to jump into the pool and put on a performance for us. Craig films it, of course, because if it's not on Instagram, did it even happen? But after Craig films it, he goes over to see that once and for all, this pina colada mixer is not freezing or mixing. And he sees Madison over there where we decide to have a one-on-one convo. And that's actually probably the perfect time where I don't think Craig is like super like blitzed or anything because it is his party. I don't think he would be the most hammered one there. But I think he's also able and willing to receive something coming from Madison. And she says that his level of consuming alcohol that night and just his behavior was alarming to her. And she was seeing it through sober eyes, and that she's worried that he could be regressing back to a place that he was not a year ago, and that she doesn't want him being single to throw away any progress he made. And it's kind of like what we were talking about in the beginning with him being sober and talking about the sobriety journey and whether or not he was doing it for himself or for what he thought other people wanted of him, or that he needed to obtain something and that it wasn't for himself. He agrees. He does say that he's already slipped up and has even called his therapist to make an appointment that he hasn't seen in 2 years. I really hope that's the case because I know Craig's a storyteller, but I do really hope that he was able to go see his therapist. He does even reflect and say that he knows that he shouldn't equate not drinking with not being fun, because he used to think that being the life of the party meant that you were also the drunkest, and that that level of drunkenness gave you that liquid courage to be a fun time, but that he needs to learn that that's not the case, or at least be reminded that that's not the case. Personally, for me, I hope that that is a reflective piece that he's working on right now, because it's hard to believe what he's doing for cameras and saying in his confessionals versus what's happening in real life. So yeah, I hope for his sake that that is the case. Let's see. We're starting to wrap up the party here. We have a Kona ice truck. A plus, Craig. Good job. We love a Kona ice truck. And then we have a lot of the boys playing volleyball in the pool. What's funny here is that like Sally's on one side and you could tell she's trying to be like the hot girl playing with the boys. But then you have Molly over here. She's the girl dressing up like Gandalf when everybody else is in their sexy literary figure outfit. And she's over there like trying to leap over people in the water, splashing. And while I don't think that that is something that these guys are viewing as like, like, let me go after Molly. Like, I do think she's genuinely like one of the bros, one of the guys. but I think Salley wants that level, but she wants that level while them wanting like her on like a romantic level at the same time. And I just don't think that it will ever come naturally for Salley there. But I like Molly's dynamic with the boys. I honestly feel like she gets along better with them. Um, they're playing and the sun's starting to go down, and we see that I think it's like Madison's about to leave, Whitner has to leave, and Vanita's like, you know what, this is a good time for me to go as well. And she's starting to pack up her stuff. Everyone's saying bye. Vanita's leaning down, and I'm pretty sure she kissed somebody else on the cheek goodbye, like a cordial, like, mwah, mwah, thank you for having me, blah, blah, blah. But she does it for Craig. And when she does that for Craig and she leans over to Salley and says, like, you want me to say bye? Salley says, oh, so you can kiss him on the cheek, but I can't hang out with him? Salley. Now, Salley. Those are two very different things, and you know that, and everyone there knows that. And to say that out loud in front of everybody did not make Vanita look foolish. It made you look foolish. Girl, like, you can't show all your cards. You got to play a little hard to get here. But she still got in that hot tub and hung out with him after the fact. She even said, Vanita said, like, you're doing the most, whatever. And before we know it, this episode ends. Charlie is getting stuff like food, snacks, drinks, whatever. And we hear Salley and Craig like almost like making fun of her, kind of like being like their little bitch and like that she's manipulated into getting stuff for them. And Charlie's like, guys, I'm your friend. I predict a falling out between Salley and Charlie, I fear. I don't like Sally's friendship dynamics. Something seems skeevy here. Something seems like no friendship is genuine. They feel very transactional. They almost feel like a reality competition game. Like you have to vote somebody off the island. Honestly, what Sally's been on a lot of reality shows. Get her on the challenge, get her on Survivor, get her on something where she has to be cutthroat. Because I think a show about relationships or community or this area in the country on this level, it's not a game. And I feel like she's treating what her character or role on the show is as a game. It feels like she's gamifying Southern Charm. If you really look at it, everything feels calculated with her. But Corey's in the hot tub with them because again, Corey, the Charisse of Southern Charm, Summer House, Winter House, all of them. He's in there chatting with them and asking questions about like how often they hang out in there and stuff. And Craig and Salley are just being very like elusive, very like hee hee hee, oh, like late nights. And I would have gotten up if I were Corey. I'd be like, okay, well, clearly I'm interrupting something, so goodbye. It was kind of weird. We just leave with this episode being weird. It was kind of giving like, in Laguna Beach in the hills when they just needed so much filler B-roll and they were just like staring at each other. And it might not have even been like the time, but you just see them like staring eyes back and forth, like trying to like read those moments. It's like that's what they were trying to do, but they were probably like 17 Corona lights in and melted pina coladas. So that's where we are. This episode was like actually kind of annoying, if we're being honest. I think I give the last one a 7.5. I'm gonna go down and give this one, well, I'm gonna give it a 7 because I just don't think there was enough resolution of anything really. I think next week, if I had to guess, is going to be where things pop off. Because like if notice like the trajectory of like the energy or the pacing of this episodes of Southern Charm, not having Austen there, and then having Vanita just poke the bear with Salley and Molly poke the bear with both of them, I think we're about to get things to really like pop off here. Also, shout out Rodrigo. He is always standing on business, saying what everyone's thinking, but doing it in such a matter-of-fact way. Like he is only saying things when he knows it is the appropriate time to say it. And I appreciate that about him. But I think my Smile Award for this episode is going to have to go to Molly's dad. I loved that phone call Molly had with her dad on the phone and how he is just always talking about how she is the best at what she does. Even like the throwback to like their parents being like, you're the best singer. Mom's like, you sound like Olivia Newton-John. And just to see such a healthy father-daughter relationship and how much he believes in her and tells her to go after her dreams, like, I think that's why she's so good at everything she does, is because she was raised to have that natural, authentic confidence. And when you have that natural, authentic confidence, you can do whatever you want. And that's awesome. Shout out Molly. Shout out Molly's dad and mom. but shout out her dad in particular in this conversation. Next episode that we're going to get to, I guess, when the holiday little break is over, is going to be called A Medium Rare Apology. Now, I don't think it's going to be Hudson grilling these up, but that would be funny if it is. But I have a feeling that we're going to get an Austen and Craig sit down once he's back from hanging out with Audrey for a couple days. And I don't know, we're still pretty early in the season, so I can't imagine it's going to go well. But until then, bop-a-doo, bop-a-dee-dee-dee.